What do you mean by reading comprehension and summary? To start with, you may wish to notice that this lecture consists of two independent but related parts, that is reading comprehension and summary. Earlier in your schedule or in the course outline, you may notice that summary is a separate module, TAC module 6. But for the purpose of conveniences and comprehension, the lecture, we decided to match the two together, that is making the two lectures to go through, because reading goes hand in hand with comprehension, comprehension and then summary writing. So let us take note of the fact that the module 3 consists of two modules. Thank you. Let's go into the course proper. Reading to start with. Then what do you mean to read, comprehend, and then to summarize or to make summary? We say reading as one of the four essential and interrelated skills in language learning. That is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We said it plays a significant role in language acquisition. What this means is that reading, being one part of the language skill, plays a significant role in language acquisition. Ability to read and write entails what? Literacy. That's why we said there are four skills of language, namely the listening skill, the speaking skill, the reading skill, and the writing skill. Of these four skills, we said that reading and writing belong to what is known as literacy skill. Why also? Because they involve what? Having or undergoing a kind of what? Formal instruction to learn, or a kind of an instruction to learn, formal or informal. So while listening and speaking are more of a kind of nurture, that is, one can learn by associating with member or speakers of a particular language. Reading and writing requires a kind of an explicit training for one to read, write, whether in first language, second language, or whatever. So, but we said reading denotes a reader's capability to decipher or interpret a written document. That is something, a kind of graphic symbol is what? Interpret mentally or yes, or otherwise. While writing and speaking are expressive language skills, and they help our ability to produce print and speech reading. To produce print and speech reading and listening are receptive language skills because they permit us to understand print and speech respectively. What this means is that a language skill or a language of the four language skills that we have mentioned, there are two that are said to be expressive in some way. Yes, sometimes they are called what? Active and the passive skill. This is an old terminology, active and passive skill. Instead, they are called what? Expressive and receptive skills. By expressive skill, we mean where one decode message, while receptive skill, in expressive skill, we refer to the ability of an individual to what? Encode a message, that is to write down a message or to code a message, to put a message across. While in receptive skill, we talk of one ability to receive this coded language and interpret it relevantly. That is either through reading or listening. In expressive skill, we have writing and speaking. So the four skills are cross-classified. Remember, we have talked of what? Native skill, that is the skill that are not that are normally learned without a kind of an overt instruction, and the skills that are learned in a class or through instruction, not necessarily class instruction. Okay. We said What is reading comprehension? Comprehension, from the word to comprehend, means understanding. Therefore, reading comprehension means read to understand what the passage is all about, not necessarily a passage, but a text is all about, and respond accurately to the question that follow. Or we said reading is of two kinds, namely intensive reading and extensive reading. What do you mean by intensive reading? In intensive reading, we said we read shorter text to extract specific information and other textual detail. That is, in extensive reading, we mean a kind of wide reading. It involves reading longer text to have global understanding and may be done for pleasure or for just while away time. These are some of the purposes of why we read. That in other way, this is some of the reason or some of the idea behind what reading. Then, how do we read, or what are the steps in reading comprehension? We said first, we need to remember a reading. In order to remember a reading, three essential steps are presented or are normally advised to be what observed. That is, what are these steps? We said pre-reading state, reading state, and post-reading state. In other way, one need to do a kind of what? Some mental activities before reading, during reading, and after reading. We said this allows a reader to get most out of your reading, that is comprehension, better comprehension. We said before you read, number one, try to identify the structure of the text. To fully understand the text, one must first look at how it is structured. We need to carefully observe the element of the text in order to identify the structure. Things like title, subtitle, illustration, captions, boxes, word in bold type, and what have you. What do you mean by? Generally, try to understand the text in general, a kind of what the text is all about. Then identify the specific information that is what conveyed by the text. After reading, we said rephrase. This is essentially what comprehension is all about. One ability to rephrase indicates his ability, or rather, ability to comprehend. Once you can't comprehend a particular text, the underlying information is that the text is not what well understood. We said to rephrase does not mean paraphrasing, let alone copying all the key ideas to turn on a piece of paper. That is, there are different. There's a kind of a difference. There's a difference between rephrase and paraphrasing. In paraphrasing, we just restructure the message, while in rephrase, we state the message in another way, conveying the same idea. So, where one engage in after reading activity, that is activity of rephrasing, one's not expected to paraphrase, that is to change a particular word or to change the arrangement for just one to pretend understanding. Okay. That is why it is said, rephrase is to explain what you have retained from the text in your own words. Then about the summary. We say summary is a brief statement of main idea of a passage or of a text generally. When you write a summary, you condense the writer's idea into few concise sentences. A summary is always shorter than the larger text because it omits the example, aside, analogies, and rhetorical strategies that writers use to add emphasis and interest. This is according to Kiss and Mendel 2008. In other words, a summary is a brief statement in one's own wording, that is one's own words, that is without being repetitive of the message or the passage that he read, or the main idea. Okay. we said generally we ask question, how will I write a summary? To write a summary, one needs to take time to understand the text. This will happen by what? Apply the same techniques of what? Comprehension. First, you go through the text, doing a kind of what? A reading. Then you may take a second reading, that is to digest more. And taking what? Notes, taking mental note or physical note, so that one will be sure about the main idea and the structure of the text is well what? Grasps. And we said the next thing is what? To create a plan. Have a plan. That is, in this early reading, take a half sheet of draft and write down the plan chosen by the author of the text. Try to get the original structure, the ideas that drive each of the main lines of the text, and make sure everything is well integrated. That is a kind of a plan on how to write a text. Says that one should get a sheet of what? And paper, and then draft down the author's organization, the structure of the text, and the idea. In other words, make a kind of what? A sketchy note. Then, number 3. You said write. That is, the length of paragraph should not depend on the length of idea in the text, but on its importance. Spend a little more time on fundamental concepts. That is, pay attention to important detail, important concept, that is a major concept in the text. So, while the paragraph may be lengthy, the information conveyed may not be that what? Be of great importance. So what you are expected to do is to get what? A kind of what? An idea of what are the fundamental things in the paragraph and what they are all about. Then the next thing is what? To proofread. That is, after writing the draft, you need to go over the draft of the sketch and proofread, please. Once the writing is complete, read everything, check that you have nothing forgotten, nothing added, nothing supposed. Then the next thing is to ensure that your text is what? Clear, well written, with a good writing style, understandable by a reader who has studied the original text, rigorous for a reader who reads it. That is, make sure that the idea that is contained in the original text is actually reflected in a more condensed, concise, and succinct way. As a final note, the 6-step advisory is provided on how to summarize a text, that is, in summarizing a text. Step number 1 is said, this is the main idea for each paragraph in the text, that is, identify the main idea of each paragraph in the text. Number 2, underline the main idea statement that includes the most important idea from the text. Number 3, combine any ideas that could go into one sentence. Number 4, number the ideas in logical order. Number 5, write your summary in one paragraph. Number 6, edit your summary. Remember we said, when you said, this is the main idea of for each paragraph in the text, try to get the most fundamental, what the paragraph is all about, then list them out. Then underline the main ideas that include the most important idea from the text. And combine any idea that could go into one sentence. That is, by this, you are getting your burden, you are unburdening yourself, that is, getting yourself less what? Less burdened. That is, making it what? Easier, making what? It concise and what have you. Then number the idea in logical order. How do you think the thought would flow? There should not be what? A kind of what? Logical mismatch. You cannot start from the end coming down to the beginning. This may tend to confuse your reader. So in a way, you are expected to logically present your idea in a way that the reader's thought will be what? Will be chain. That is, it will be what? Flowing. Then write your summary in one paragraph. Get a sheet of paper and write it in no more than one paragraph. That is, then edit your summary.